Hey, it's Kley. Welcome to another video. Today, I want to do kind of a deep dive walkthrough of this. This is a 2007 PRS Swamp Ash Special. It's going to be kind of specific to this video, but also just kind of talking generally about the status of kind of PRS guitars, and especially some of these older models. You know, I don't know at what point you start calling them vintage or not, but kind of just sharing my experience of what it's like to buy an older USA-made PRS. So if you're interested in that, let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, so this is the continuation with my PRS journey. If you want to check back a couple of videos ago, I had purchased and reviewed a PRS S2 Standard 22. I liked that guitar a lot, but there were some shortcomings with it that kind of caused me to look into this. And so this is a 2007 Swamp Ash Special. This is a pretty weird old guitar. It's got a lot of kind of quirks and many issues and things, but I'm actually pretty happy where it came to. But let's kind of talk about all those things. And really, you know, when you're looking at potentially buying an old PRS, I mean, this thing was built in 2007. It's now 2023, so that makes it about a 15-year-old guitar. That's starting to get pretty old. And so there's certainly a lot. This guitar's been around the block. It's been played a lot, and it's a far cry from what you would get from the factory. But there's still a lot of upsides. I mean, it's still an American-made PRS. And so let's kind of talk about all those things that I like and don't like about it. So one of my first observations is that the price of the used USA PRSs has gone up a fair amount. I had bought one like maybe about 12 or 13 years ago. I think the last USA one I owned was a narrow field. It kind of had a Strat type body before the Silver Sky was a thing, and it had these three humbuckers that were kind of smaller in size, and actually it was a really cool overall guitar. Before that, I also had owned a McCarty Standard. Both of those guitars were kind of in like the $1,000 price range at the time. And for it being 10 or 15 years ago, I mean, you know, that's more money, you know, with inflation and things than it is today. But certainly the overall landscape of PRS guitars has certainly increased a fair amount. And the, you know, the cost of the new ones is pushing about $4,000 or even $5,000 in some cases. A lot of the used ones really start, you know, maybe $2,000 or $3,000. But you can find some stragglers, and that's kind of what this guy was. This one was well under $2,000, really closer to $1,000. You're not going to find one of these every single day, and there are some reasons why it costs that price. But there are some lower cost models. I was looking at the CE series, Classic Electric. Those have kind of bolt-on maple necks. There also are some older McCarty models that I was looking at that are kind of dip down into that range as well. And then this Swamp Ash Special model definitely dips in there as well. Now, some of the things about the Swamp Ash Special that I kind of liked, you know, I was interested in the maple neck. Now, this one has a wide, fat neck, which I really enjoy, and I think it plays extremely comfortable. One of the problems I had with the S2 is that it was kind of more of a regular standard type neck. Now, this isn't as chunky as like a 1-inch thick baseball kind of 52 no-caster, but it is definitely a nice, solid sized neck, and I find it extremely comfortable to play on. You know, and I think having this maple neck, you know, this one actually is pretty flamey, which was kind of cool. Definitely gives it a little bit more of kind of that Fender feel, which I'm a little more at home and accustomed to and enjoy. Although a lot of my Fender guitars I played have maple necks with rosewood boards, but the maple is a nice combo that feels very comfortable and at home for me to play. Another reason why I was intrigued by it is the pickups. This is an HSH guitar. It kind of has an interesting way that it does that as well. So you've got these two humbuckers, master volume, master tone on a push-pull, and then you got a three-way switch. Now this three-way switch operates these two humbuckers just like a Les Paul. Neck, both of them in parallel, and then bridge. If you engage the push-pull, what you're doing is adding this middle single coil to whatever position you're in, and it also, I believe, does like the PRS partial coil split. And I haven't quite tested it exactly, but I know it does kind of give you more of that quacky, stratty type sound. So, but it's not like a pure, like if you pull it up and you go to the neck position, I believe it's both of these pickups. So you get like one of the coils of the neck humbucker in the middle coil for kind of more of a skinnier, stratty type sound. It's a very unique setup, and I've really never seen anything quite like it anywhere else. And it certainly is very unique. It has some interesting sounds, but also might be something I might look to tweak a little bit because its uniqueness also kind of means it's just a little bit weird in terms of functionality. I also kind of quite like the look of this guitar. It's got a swamp ash body. You know, most of the PRS guitars have a mahogany body with a maple cap that has this carve. Now this has that really nice, you know, USA PRS carve to it with that really gradual and sloping, you know, just is a very beautiful top, I think. But you can definitely see the swamp ash, the grain of the swamp ash is very identifiable, but it's kind of got this kind of three-tone sunburst on top of it. And overall, I think it's a really nice looking guitar. It's definitely a little bit different than the flamey maple stuff that PRS is more accustomed to, and I think maybe that's kind of why the price is a little bit lower, because it doesn't look exactly like all of the traditional PRSs. Now, the rest of the guitar has a lot of kind of ups and downs. There's some really quirky and weird things going on with this thing. First and foremost, there definitely was some kind of neck break. I think the headstock actually came clean off at one point. You can definitely see and feel some scars right in here. But also my observation is that that has been repaired fairly professionally, and really does not impact the tone or playability in a way that I can tell. And so I think it is not a negative in my book. Next, it has some Grover locking tuners that are aftermarket. You can actually even see the holes from the previous tuners, and there's even another set of holes that are filled and doweled. So I think this guitar has actually had 3 different types of tuning pegs put on it. It does not have the stock standard truss rod cover plate. I'm guessing some of that has to do with, if you take this off, you might see some more of like the scarring or the break that had happened. I'm not sure if this nut is original. I think that it might not be. And actually, there's a little tiny gap between the edge of the fretboard and where the nut sits. So maybe at some point I'll take it off and reseat it, but I haven't noticed any problems so far, but just something to be aware of. Next, I'm fairly confident that this guitar has been refretted. These frets feel very large. They're definitely very tall, very wide frets, which kind of took a little bit of getting used to, but now that I have gotten a little more accustomed to it, I actually really quite like. But in doing so, I did notice there's a couple of little marks on the fretboard, kind of where maybe the tool that was used maybe kind of scarred into the wood just a little bit. Again, not a huge problem, not something that I notice when I play it, but it certainly has some battle scars to it. Next, I would also just say that this maple neck definitely had a little bit of a glossier finish, and I found it to be a little bit sticky when I first getting used to it, and I actually have taken 1000 grit wet dry sandpaper and give it, with some soapy water, and gave it kind of a sheen or just a little bit of, to knock off some of the gloss and to make it a little bit smoother to play. I did that everywhere that my hand would touch, so on all of the fretboard and the back of the neck, and I think that really has helped this guitar play really, really smoothly. I also believe that whatever broke the headstock also potentially caused some damage to the body itself. There's a little chip out mark here, right where kind of the scoop for the high fret axis is, where you can definitely see this piece was repaired. And then on the back, it actually has, so on the sides, you can see kind of a glossier black, but then on the back, it has this very matted, almost textured, like a plastic coating has been applied to the back of the guitar. Also, I would note that the backplate, the PRS guitar's backplate, says that this is a CE model, so this backplate is not the original backplate that the Swamp Ash Special would have come with. I don't have reason to believe that other parts of the guitar are unauthentic. I do believe that this was just maybe that original backplate was damaged, and not only the damage occurred to the headstock, but also to the area where the neck joins the body. Next, I would also note that when I first got the guitar, the tremolo arm vibrato system wasn't maybe set up as super well, and frankly, I don't really use vibratos, and I don't really even like them, so I actually took a piece of wood and have blocked this tremolo off, so it is firm and fixed, and it basically plays much more like just a fixed tailpiece bridge guitar, which is what I really do prefer. Next, it's also missing a couple of screws here on the back. This jack plate here is getting to be fairly tarnished, and then I did also replace these straps here with some strap locks that I really enjoy and prefer. And so next I would even say, looking at the hardware on the front, a lot of this hardware definitely has some age and some tarnish going on, It actually came with the black speed knobs. I have never really been a fan of the plastic knobs that you find on a PRS or a Les Paul. So I swapped them out with these a little bit smaller profile chrome knobs, which I really, really enjoy. And so that's just kind of a little bit of a breakdown of all of what's going on with this guitar. Again, it's with the neck break and the weird refinish on the back. You know, it definitely has some quirky, weird things going on. I also don't want to forget about these pickups. I believe that the neck pickup is the stock McCarty style pickup. This middle was described as a DiMarzio single coil. It has variable pole pieces, and it certainly was not the original neck pickup that was in the guitar. I would note that in playing this guitar, this middle pickup does have a little bit of a tendency to get in the way. When you're playing a Stratocaster, you have more space between the neck and the middle, and that's usually where I tend to pick. But because of this pickup ring and this middle pickup with these, especially because some of these magnets are pretty high up with their, you know, uneven pole pieces, the room to pick can be a little bit hard to find sometimes. Then this bridge pickup, I believe, is described as a Duncan Distortion Plus. My initial, opinion of these pickups really isn't that great. I think they're a little bit muffly and just not maybe for my tonal preference. Also, this middle DiMarzio doesn't mesh super well with either of the two pickups in a way that I really prefer. So I actually have already ordered some other pickups, and we'll probably swap them out and show you how those sound. So, I guess one of the thoughts is if you're going to buy an old PRS, you're definitely going to maybe run some risk, especially if you're going to find one that has a really good price, that it's been, manhandled or tempered or transformed in many ways. And for me, I kind of actually like that. It's kind of maybe one of the things that's endearing about this guitar. I maybe have the cheapest Swamp Ash Special that has been purchased in 2023 so far. But for, reason, this thing has a headstock break. The resale on this is going to be a little hard because it is a weird old guitar. But, knowing what I know about woodworking and wood glue, and if these things are repaired well, there's no reason why it can't be functioning equally well, if not even better, even more solid and secure than it was even previously. So I don't look at these things as so much of a problem as much as kind of endearing quirks that, like I said, endear me to the guitar. The fact that it is a USA PRS kind of also endears me to it. It is extremely balanced and comfortable to play. It sounds good, and I think with the pickup swap, it might even get to a point where it sounds really great. It's comfortable to play, and it just checks a lot of boxes for me, and so far I'm really quite happy with how this thing has played out. All right, let's hear some tones out of this thing. I'm plugged into some pedals, and I've got my Super Reverb clone into a Torpedo Captor X using an impulse response for some speaker cab sim. Let's start with the neck pickup, full humbucker. In between position. The bridge. Let's split the coils and by pulling the push-pull pot up. The output definitely drops and the tone kind of thins out a little bit. I just want to check to see which coils are all active, so I've got a screwdriver here. So that's the middle pickup. So by my estimation, when you're in the bridge position on the three-way, you pull the toggle slip up, all three of these pickups are on. So it's full bridge humbucker and full middle pickup. And if you listen to it, it doesn't sound exactly like a Strat. Definitely has a lot of body and bite, and I think a lot of that is just because this bridge pickup is kind of overpowering the middle. It's maybe not as quacky and stratty as I would maybe like to hear, but let's try the middle. Let's do our test again. Definitely is thinner and lower output. So what I'm hearing is all of the pickups are on, except for this one coil here is definitely on, but just a little bit. So I think that's the PRS resistor trick. Let's go to the neck. Full humbucker. So again, it's definitely lower output and a little bit thinner, but again, maybe not exactly what I would like to hear in a, you know, I don't know, it just is a little bit of a kind of a weird tone I've never quite heard before. So this front pickup coil is on. I think that this second one is on, but I think that instead of shunting it to ground completely, I think there's a little bit of a resistor in between. And the middle pickup is on, the bridge pickup is off. So it is kind of a funky setup. You know, when you're in the bridge position, the full bridge is on and the middle position is 4 of the 5 coils. And the neck position is just this front one, the middle, and a little bit of this guy bled in a little bit. So kind of honestly, a very quirky and interesting tone setup, but let's try something with a little bit more grit out of the Super Reverb. All right, let's try something just a little bit higher gain. This is the modded high gain side of my Super Reverb. I have a video on it in case you're wondering. It's really kind of a custom, instead of having the normal channel in parallel, it basically runs it in series with a lot of modifications. Kind of a dumbly thing, kind of, but really its own circuit, just kind of an interesting high gain tone. Let's listen to it. is a fun guitar to play, and it sounds good. I certainly think a pickup swap to a voicing that maybe just would kind of suit my desires a little bit better is probably going to happen. But, you know, overall, my experience with this thing has been really interesting so far. It is a wacky guitar with kind of a rough history, but for what it is here, you know, after all the flums and flaws and kind of warts with this thing, it's a really cool and fun guitar to play, and I'm really glad to own it. So, I guess I would say overall, if you're willing to do a little bit of work or willing to work with, to have something that maybe isn't quite that pristine, brand new, fresh out of the box, some of these older, kind of off the beaten path PRS models can still be really interesting and intriguing. And ultimately, it still is a PRS. I mean, it feels really good. It looks good. It's comfortable to play. It's well balanced. With the right pickups, I think this guitar could really open up. So stay tuned in the future. See how this thing proceeds from here. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts down below. See you again soon. Thanks. Bye.